Good. Thanks, Tom. All right, everybody. Welcome to the March 25th, 2014 Raymond Conservation Commission meeting. We've missed several this winter with weather and people's schedules being out of town. I've been out of town. And there's been a fair amount of activity. In the meantime, though, we wanted to just share and update the community on. And we're going to keep it brief and simple, but open it up at the end and throughout the three agenda items here to just some conversation with the gang here. We'll save a little time at the end in case there's any other items of interest. But tonight, the three topics are, in order we'll go the Lake Region bus service, the Pine Tree Council of America Boy Scout proposal, just a quick update on that for folks that aren't already up to speed with it. And then we'll finish up with the Raymond Community Forest grant update. There's been a lot of work done on that by Luneco, and wanted the town, or for the folks listening or watching, to know where that project stands. So first up is a quick pitch for the Lake Region bus service, which started in November and runs 2 runs in the morning and 2 coming from Naples to Portland, and 2 runs in the evening coming out of Portland. And the timing of that is 6:16 a.m. at Sunset Variety. There's parking there. Leave your car. 6:16 a.m. gets into Portland about 7:10 at the Monument Square, right down the hill of Monument Square metro stop. And then the next one's at 8:51, I believe. And the buses coming out are leaving Portland at 4:30, and then it's 7:10, and a little under an hour trip each way, depending on the traffic. 2 stops on the way in, just Westbrook, North Windham and Westbrook. But I rode it for the first time Monday and highly recommend it. $3, comfortable ride, warm bus, Wi-Fi if you need it. Great way to go. The math, if you're driving a 25 mile per gallon car, is no brainer. You're paying $3 one way for gas at least, and then if you start counting O&M on your car and capital cost of having a car, it's easy math, and plus you don't have to drive. So highly recommend everyone look at their schedules for those that go to Portland and see how it might fit to work. It was pretty lightly loaded. There was 3 of us going in at 8:50 the other morning, and there were 5 of us coming out. And the report was that the late bus, and I think the very early bus, is busier. And it's been building slowly, but it was kind of funny because one of the co-chairs of the 2004 Comprehensive Plan Committee, Brad McCurtain from the Cape, and myself were the only guys on the bus 10 years later, when on the comp plan update, one of the agenda items was to move regional transportation forward. So we were living the dream. It just took a decade, and there were 2 of us, but we got a chuckle out of that. It's growing though, and it's a great service. Highly recommend it, folks. Check that out. It's an RTP. It's not the metro in Portland. It's regional transportation for Portland.
Does it start at Sunrise, or does it start from Naples and come down that way?
Starts at Naples at the American Vets, right at Route 11 and 302. There's a stop in Casco somewhere right on 302. Then it's Sunset Variety, North Windham at the right near the Hannaford. Westbrook at Pride's Corner, and then you're
Into Monument
right into
Square.
Monument Square.
They have a monthly commuter pass?
They do. They have a monthly, daily is $3 one way. I bought a 10-trip pass for $25, and a monthly is $75. And so if you rode, if you rode it every day, you'd
Yeah,
do pretty
it's-
well with
right.
that. If you rode it half the time, you'd still do well.
Yeah.
So just Monday to Friday, or?
Monday, I think that's right, Bill. I think that's right, yeah.
And it's all on the town website.
Is there a link there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
good.
posted on the town website right
Good,
on
good.
the first page,
Okay.
so.
Bus service in Raymond.
Yeah, it's,
That's amazing.
it's
we
great.
gonna go next?
It's great. It took
The
me
old
3
storage.
months to do it, but I'm sold. I'm sold. Second item up, just a quick update on the Boy Scouts. Probably folks that were at the planning board meeting last Wednesday are more current on the status of that project. Public hearing, I think it was Wednesday, for folks to comment on the proposed expansions to Camp Hines, improvements, largely building and grounds improvements, access road improvement. Certainly one of the ones of interest for some of the folks in that part of town was the shooting range improvements, which with berming that they're going to be doing should significantly reduce some of the noise. I think there's probably still two concerns that would remain would be, while it was really just 1 or 2 ranges before, it's now 4 side by side, and I think also that the berms, while they're tucked right into the hillside, and we'll have berms on the side, that'll give 3-side sound barrier protection. There's still nothing in back, so there'll still be some sound generation. It's a shooting range, that's the nature of it. But I think it was a substantial step forward in the right direction to work with the neighbors, and they also had terminated their arrangement with a private weapons company that was using the range regularly last fall, and so that restricting the use to primarily just Camp Hines in the summer with some periodic training on the shoulder seasons is going to, I think, reduce the footprint of that
Yeah, the activity level.
use down there. That was, in my view, and I'm somewhat of a neighbor, and there's others that are closer, there's others that are farther, but it was pretty noticeable. It was very noticeable, and it was all weekend long, and so they were very accommodating in listening to our concerns, and then they put on a great site walk when they did the planning board site walk. That was very informative also. So it'll be a huge step up for the facility down there, and
They're not
much
expanding, are they rebuilding the existing buildings, adding on to them? I know they did some road, so there's some road.
yeah, there's a new road, access road that'll be probably the biggest disturbance. And they're going to build a new dining hall that's pulled back from the river. The current one that's right
Yeah.
down by the pond
Right.
will still be a facility for lesser use,
Yeah.
less intensive use, I think. But then the dining hall will be pulled back,
Yeah.
which makes sense so that
Sure.
you would have perhaps less, intensive human traffic right around the
Yeah.
sensitive shoreline for 3 times a day.
Yeah, during meals.
So, that seems like it was good progress, and they've got, they're gonna have a much better facility. I think we'll, certainly continue to work with them and on any concerns about about noise from the shooting range or other issues, but I'd say it's certainly headed in the right direction.
Did they get approval?
Would have just been just hearing, just taking input, and the planning board will probably have a
Take a look at it?
and have a
analyze it?
decision in April or May, I bet.
And do they hope to start it this year and get it completed before the season? It'll probably be
How's that gonna
difficult to
work?
do that before the summer season starts, but it's just like a 12-month plan?
Yeah, I think they have plans for some activities starting this spring.
Yeah.
But there'll certainly be activity going on
Yeah, ongoing.
after this summer's camp season and probably into the fall,
Okay.
with some National Guard support from bases and National Guard centers from around the country
Yeah,
that folks are coming in.
so they'll do their 2-week
Duty.
training.
That's right.
From different facilities here.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep, earthwork, and
Yeah.
they're bringing all the machines.
Yeah, that's terrific.
it's a-
Carpentry, plumbing.
Yeah.
Electrical.
Trades.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's a really good deal, cost-effective deal for the scouts.
Yeah.
And
In a kind of a
There we
same
go.
kind of subject down in that area, the Tenny River property.
Yeah.
Has that gotten approved as well? Is that going forward?
Thanks for that, yeah, bringing that up, Jim. So the, 2 planning board meetings ago, there was, or in planning board meetings this winter, actually there were select board meetings, there was language for the Warrant articles for funding the Tenny River, making our contribution to the Tenny River Corridor project of $15,000.
Yeah.
And I believe that language got approved for the warrant that
Okay.
we'll be voting on in June.
Yep.
And we also got language approved for the Raymond Community Forest
Yep.
project.
Great.
That we'll have something to vote on in June.
Yep, so they both need the warrant, that's great.
So they both got through the warrant language approval step.
Nice.
So, with that, we probably, now that these guys got us all booted up on the scout plan, we're probably ready to go to the map, I think.
I tried with the other one. Let's bring that back up.
There we go.
So with the scout
There we go, that's good.
shooting range stuff, did they give any consideration to my idea of using a shooting range that's around here?
An alternative range.
Yeah,
Um,
don't like it. Don't like that idea.
Yeah, I think that they were pretty well heart set on maintaining shooting sports as a merit
Yeah.
badge and as a part of camp down there, and it is a popular, as you can imagine, it's a popular activity, and that was part of the reason for expanding to 4 stations, 4 ranges, kind of from what they had before, so that they could not have folks, kids waiting to get training and shooting.
I was just curious how it was received.
Yeah. And no, actually, you know, I think the way it went, Bill, at the site walk was that they basically presented, you know, their plan for how it was going to be, and I think that it's, you know, the shooting range at Camp Hines and Raymond is probably fairly central to the experience there. There are other ranges. There are other pine tree facilities. There's 4 of them, I think, in the state. I think there's 3 of them upstate and maybe 2 of them upstate and maybe 1 more to the south. But Mount Vernon, I think there's one, or Sabatis, and So I'd say that we'll probably see building activity down there in the coming months and over the next year. So on to the Raymond Community Forest. The project is rolling forward. Loon Echo Land Trust, Carrie Walia there has done a tremendous job putting together a application to the Land for Maine's Future program that's part of the State Planning Office in Augusta. Loon Echo's been successful with three or four other LMF grant applications that they've put in. A couple of those on Pleasant Mountain, others in the Loon Echo Land Trust service area, which we're part of. So I think she probably had a pretty good template to work from, but also was able to pull info in from the green print effort that helped prioritize parcels not only in Raymond but in the 7 towns that participated in that resource mapping of the most valuable or special places in the Lake region for conservation. And so the proposal looks great. She's going to submit it Friday. She sent it to all of us when we circulated it around. Everybody, we had some good comments back from folks, and I think it's a pretty tight document, and it describes the parcels, the funding, the schedule of how the project will roll out. And our next step in town will be to vote in June on whether to approve spending $50,000 towards the project. To be matched and used with funds that the grant application is going after, in addition to some other grant funds that Carrie has pursued, and in addition to what will be, if it's a favorable vote, what will be a private fundraising campaign to help close the gap for the project. So we'll post, that was a good suggestion, Jim, we'll post the application on the website in the next week or so that everybody can see and read more about it. There's good detail in there. I'll share for a couple minutes good experience I had with daughter Allison, and I went out Friday and finally got to walk around the property in detail. And I'm going to play with this one. How's this guy running now? You got a trigger on it. Where's the? This guy?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Coneska Road. Right here is a clearing that folks, it's pretty obvious where they had a log yard. It'll probably be a make sense parking area.
Yep.
High ground, dry ground. From the selective cut that was done there in roughly 05, we'll say 2005, 2006, there's a network of forest skid trails that were in great shape for snowshoeing, and I imagine will be for the next week or two. Folks should get out there and experience the place. But we started here and came off the knoll and wound our way through some nice hemlock and hardwood forest. It's not heavily cut. There's certainly some skid trails, and they pretty much stayed relatively clear of the central region. That's kind of the drainage. The drainage is to the south, to Crescent Lake, but multiple trail options, and the main one we were on would have made a great trail. We encountered what is Hancock Road, which bisects the property, and this wetland here was evident, and crossed that, and then kind of came through this area here, which had been cut more heavily. It was higher and drier. Can you skid me down to the south a little more, Bill? Take it out, yeah, down. And there's great straight dry trail that comes through. There's a high knoll there. You can start to see one of the houses from Rosewood. And then we hooked back and kind of came out through, just bushwhacked through this wetland to find Rosewood, which this boundary here is Rosewood, is the road along that. And we hopped back into the ground in about here, and there's a number of trails that are accessible and ready for, you know, clipping and finish improvement, and we just ended up back on Kineska there. And so that was about a hour and a half, 2 hours to cover that. We were mapping as we went with a GPS unit. So the great level ground, modest terrain, modest slopes, easy access. It's probably bumpier, is bumpier for sure in the spring and fall and wetter. Midsummer, it's probably going to be some reasonably good trails in there with some improvement work for sure. In the winter, it was great just the way it was. So skid me up to the north here a little, Bill, if you can, and from right about here on Kineska Road, where here's Rosewood that comes out to Kineska, you know, shortly after you come off of Raymond Hill Road. There's Kineska on the left. You go up, there's a couple houses, and there's a Hancock pin right there, red post, and it's before you get to the Hancock Road, but it's after you go by Rosewood. There's that Hancock pin. You can see it on the map here. There's a skid road right there, and there's a little nick in the topo lines. There's a little mini valley that walks right up the slope. Not a small climb. It's not a hard climb, but it goes up at a good pitch. And you hop around this house here that's well marked with some signs, and you can see his house. And you hop around that corner of it, and then you come up along this side, and then you're on to existing ATV trails that run down to Raymond Hill Road, that trail we went up last time in 2008. Yep. And there's another trail that goes out towards Mountain Road. But this is all, skid me up a little more there if you can, Bill, to the north, so show the whole mountain piece. That's great. This is all uncut, beautiful, relatively young hardwood, open, high ground, you know, gentle sloping ground, and you come along the trail and the views start opening up, and actually along that whole ridge you're looking out to the southwest over Crescent and Sebago and Rattlesnake and the Saddleback Hills in the far distance, and then you get to the cliff or the clearing at the top,
where the chimneys are,
and have great views out from there. And there's no doubt that this is steep terrain down in the front of it, and not that accessible. That there was one skid road I noticed that went down about like that years ago, apparently. So from there, for folks that want to see the view of this property and the scenic resource that it is, that's the way to do it. Is to find that red Hancock post on the northeast side of Kineska Road, right there, just after Rosewood, and it'll be some bushwhacking, but you can pick your way along that, and you'll find that house, and then you'll hook around, and you'll find the trail to the top. A spectacular view up there. And as Steve pointed out, we ought to try to get at least some flagging out along that, just so folks in the coming months before town vote could at least have the chance, for those that are inclined to go up and take a peek at it. From the top, and that's not the summit, that's the summit of Pismire Mountain, and there's a house there, but there's a trail that goes well established, goes right over to that corner, and then it goes up along this side, And we didn't do that. We kind of cut across the face of this cliff and then mostly in the horizontal position slid down the the steep slopes, and so wouldn't recommend folks do that. But you could perhaps go out that way, and I imagine that goes out to, it's got to go out to Mountain Road. Simply the out and back from here is the trip to do if folks want to go see the hilltop.
So it doesn't have any access from Mountain Road?
So, right, there's no property.
Frontage on-
on Mountain Road. I think there's only one parcel. I mean, here's Mountain Road right here.
Right.
Or Raymond Hill, I guess, right?
There's a couple of
Couple
dead-end
land,
roads when you hook around, if you go up
up,
like this
Yep.
and go up mountain. And
Yep.
then there's a couple, I think one's called Pismire Mountain Road.
right,
Right.
it comes
And
off
there's
the mountain.
another one.
Yeah, there is.
Are there
There's two
homes
that
with private land at the end of those?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, here's one of them.
Okay.
And
That's
then
gonna be-
there's another one that is
Yeah,
in
fine.
there.
Okay.
Have we spoken to the owners of the property where we access the cliff top from before? There's the open trail that goes by their trellis in
That's
the
right,
yard.
that's right.
And I was under the impression that as long as people were respectful of the property, that they were happy to have you park there by the cemetery, go across the road, and you could access through their property on a, that was a well-maintained
That was a
trail.
nice trail, and
That's the walk
Kimberly
we took.
Kimberly was our contact for that, and we could certainly check with her to see if we could, to get that, access. I mean, just confirm that that was okay with the property owner still.
It just allowed access by anyone
Yeah,
because it was such a nice.
yeah,
even
it wasn't a
trail.
challenge, you could
It was a
walk
good,
right up
easy
that.
way.
So
in,
any,
right.
any citizen of the community could
Right.
access that view
Yep,
from that property.
yep, that was an ideal access. So will check on that, and I think going forward, you know, if the project gets funded, that'll certainly be an access that we'd want to explore.
Right.
And, so, but part of our trip on Friday was, I was glad to find out that you can do it from here,
it's
and it's
big.
not going straight
Right.
up a cliff.
Right.
It's a diagonal traverse, basically.
Yeah.
And it would need some work, but it's not heavy duty, it would be clipping mostly.
Yeah.
And it can all be done within the parcel.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good trail for not only the views, but someone who's looking for a little challenge as far as
Hiking.
snowshoeing,
Yeah.
hiking, getting a little workout or whatever.
If you want a easy grade, nice, cover some miles, you're down here. If you want to go, basically it was a White Mountain experience when you came up that slope. And by the time you rounded this guy's corner, you're up high, and you could see, if you look this way, you could see you could see Mount Washington.
Oh, no kidding.
It's through the trees,
Yeah.
but you're basically in the foothills of the White Mountains from up there, and it's different than the rattlesnake view. And in my view, it was a lot more interesting than the rattlesnake view. The rattlesnake view is awesome,
Yep.
but it's primarily southerly over relatively flat southwest Maine, with the hills across the Bago to the far right. With this, you're looking right at Rattlesnake, and then to the north of Rattlesnake, you're looking into the Whites, basically, out that way, across the lake.
Full saddle up there. You can
That
see down
saddle,
there.
and you're beyond Pleasant, so.
Pretty view up through there.
So, short message is, folks out there, go check this place out. It's an awesome property. We identified it in our research of the places that are special in town to preserve.
Yeah.
This one came up as an opportunity. We're working with Hancock. Carrie's been great chasing that. The financing of this thing is pretty close to 10 to 15 cents on the dollar for this opportunity, assuming this grant comes through. If it doesn't, that'll obviously change the metrics, but we have, in our open space reserve account, about we have about $50,000 that we've saved over the last decade, and we've committed 15 of that to the Tenny River Corridor project. Leaves us about 35, and so if we want to save a little bit of that for the opportunities, but we could fairly say we have $30,000 of the 50 that is being pledged
Already.
or is going to be asked of the town.
Already in the bank.
In the bank,
Right.
yeah.
So it's really 20.
It would be 20,000 new dollars
Right.
that we'd be voting on essentially at town meeting, and so that's the way that goes. So folks, go take a look. It's a great resource, and it's right in our backyard. It's right in your backyard.
It
Here,
is.
man, you are right there. You're walking out the
I
door.
live, where am I here?
You're right at.
I shouldn't be telling people where I live.
Yeah, they might come get you, but
I live close.
yeah, you're close. Yeah.
And this is a truly unique piece of property. This is
Yeah.
the only piece of property like this in the town. And to have a property with this much acreage, and of course this is why it was selected, because of its unique view. So if we don't take advantage of this,
Yeah.
that's it for us. This opportunity will be gone. There will not be another site that we could purchase
Right. No,
that will provide
yeah,
the town with the same value.
That's right on, Steve. Rattlesnake is not in Raymond. It's privately owned, and the access there is by signage, but restricted seasonally, and it could change at some point if that owner changed.
Like this property right here that's Mr. Randall's place, and I live close enough to where my wife and I snowshoed. There's an empty lot next to it, and you get to the high ground of that empty lot, and you can see.
You can see some views there.
You can't see Mount Washington, but you can see the other ranges going, to it, and
Yeah.
you can look down on the lake, and you're not even anywhere close to being on the highest
On the
point
higher
in that
point.
area.
Yeah.
So it must be spectacular up there.
And you see Raymond Pond. If you swing, you can
Oh,
see
yeah.
all the lakes.
Yeah.
You see
Didn't we have another
view.
board member that lived off of there as well, or no? Who took the picture? Who gave the picture for the town?
That was Russ Hutchinson's
Right.
son. Russ
Okay.
Russ has he lives on North Raymond Road, farther up
Oh,
North Raymond
okay.
Road.
Gotcha. I thought for some reason he was up.
But I think his family might have a camp further up on Crescent.
Okay. Yeah, there's some unique features about this. There's no power along that
That's right.
side of Canesta. That's really one of the older rural roads left.
Yeah.
It's got the chimney, the rock formation. I call it a chimney. I don't know
Yeah,
if
no, that's the right
officially
term.
what it is,
I think.
but
yeah, geologically.
it's got one of the prettiest views in Raymond, looking right down southwest Crescent to Sebago, to those surrounding hills and the Burnt Meadow Mountain Range, which
Yeah,
is nice.
that's what it is on the other side of the lake.
And I think up in this area, there's old stone.
Yep, cellar.
There is a cellar up there.
cellars,
You're
right,
right,
and
Bill.
You're right.
foundations
And
from
we haven't even highlighted that
years
thing
ago.
in here.
Yeah, that's probably on the old maps somewhere.
There's a
In fact, that whole road, I think, has got a number of them. If you look at some of the older maps in town, it shows homesteads that were there.
So when the weather's nice and I ride my bicycle, I go right down Kenneskin.
Yeah,
all the
loop
way out
around
to
it. I've done that too.
It's about 12 miles round trip, and it's
It's a good,
it's a good
That's a
workout.
good
yeah,
loop.
it's a good workout.
Well, an important benefit too will be to reduce pressure on rattlesnake. I think one of the concerns is that rattlesnake gets used so much that the owner is concerned about trail erosion,
Sure.
and that's why he limits springtime use, limits it to no trail running, and I think he has some legitimate concerns that he's the only guy that really provides a whole lot of maintenance for that. I know that different people, maybe you, at one point have gone up and done a little bit of work to help out, but for the most part, it falls upon the owner. And it's really only by his graces that anybody gets to use that.
Yeah.
He's very kind to allow people to use it. So if we have another destination, it'll just take pressure off that
Yep.
property until use expands overall.
Yep.
But I think for right now, it's a nice option to have something in town that'll be an alternative.
And it would be all Raymond's. It'd be public access, so it wouldn't be restricted to Raymond residents, obviously, but it would be in the town of Raymond.
Right,
and
managed by Raymond.
Managed by Raymond.
There's a tremendous amount of wildlife in that area too. I mean, a lot of deer and other small mammals and
I'm
all kinds of stuff.
quite sure that there's eagles that nest
On top.
there,
Somewhere
'cause,
up in there, yeah.
if you go down to the little Casco, little town beach there, and
Oh, yeah.
swim out far enough into the water, which I've done, I still haven't made it to that island, but one of these days. If you get out there far enough, you can see them
Really?
way up in the.
Because I know he comes over Raymond Pond. I just don't know where he ever was, where the nest was. It certainly was, it's not near our pond, I know that. They cover a lot of area though.
Yeah. So, yeah, and your points are all good. I mean, 350 acres, there's not too many of those pieces
No,
Is
left in town.
not
Is
all.
the Conservation Commission, are we officially committed for our $30,000 or
We,
how's that
we,
working?
we aren't officially committed at this stage. The way it works is that step one will be for the town to approve the $50,000 in June. And that vote will be, that money, the expenditure of that money on the property, closing on the property, is contingent on getting this Land for Maine Futures grant. Or if we don't, have locate some other
Some of the means.
means. What we have to do on the timeline is by the end of this year, December 2014, is to make the commitment to Hancock that we will be buying it. And so the way the schedule works is we have the June meeting, we have a award notification from Land for Maine Futures somewhere mid-late summer, September. It's more like September or even into October perhaps. And then if we got the funding, we would have to make our final decision at the end of this year and tell Hancock yes or no. So there's an option to get out, the option to buy this land expires December
Into this year.
2014. Once we exercise the option, we have another year to come up with the funding. So Hancock's have been generous, very generous with us in that sense.
Yeah, that's very, very kind at that side of this whole project for them to allow us to kind of almost taking our sweet time and doing something about it.
Yeah, and I think because they've worked with Luneco on others and recognize that these things
Take time.
These things takes time, and
Yeah.
they got the property assessed, appraised, and we're discounting that by on the order of $100,000 from the appraised value to make the numbers
Make it work.
make them work. So, Pismire, great resource, and
Yeah.
so, but certainly there'll be plenty left to do aside from fundraising and implementing the purchase of the property. Probably the biggest item is a property management plan, which will have two big pieces we've talked about before. A timber management plan that jives with the trail system is going to be key, because we certainly, as a community forest, a working forest. That's how it's being pitched to Land for Maine Future.
Yep.
It should, as it should, supply the wood forest industry and do that through time. We're not gonna clear cut it, we're gonna selective cut it over time, and
Yep.
I would envision, perhaps a trail improvement cut early on that, obviously working through and with a forester, that would give us a little charge of income right off the bat, that we could return to the town and use some of that to make some basic initial trail improvements. And then it probably would be sitting tight for a decade or something before you did any other major cut.
Yep.
But all that would need to be kind of mapped out in a property management plan about how you do the cutting and when, and the where part would have to mesh with a kind of a basic trail layout. But like I say, the trails are largely built, and at least from an initial standpoint.
Yep.
There'll certainly be places where you'd need to put bark or gravel and do some earthwork with machines to make it work, but
And then decide also what the usage would be.
and yeah, absolutely, the plan would spell that out, and that'll take some community input for sure, because the passive low impact is a no-brainer, and what we want to spend some time on is thinking about hunting and motorized access and where that can and should or shouldn't happen.
I think Hancock has allowed hunting on the property, I know.
Yep.
I don't know about four-wheeling. I know they have trails, approved trails on their other
wheelers.
properties.
Yep.
For four-wheeling, I think ski-mobiling as well. But I think they want to have that, they want to direct people to those trails.
Yep.
And only those trails. I don't know if there's anything like that. I don't recall seeing anything like that up there.
There's a land share sign on the Pismere side.
Yeah.
And there isn't, I don't think there is one on the Conneska side.
Yeah.
But I think I trust it's been hunted by locals.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's been much ATV traffic other than up this back piece here.
Yeah.
That are active trails that go out to
Across the
Raymond.
way, yeah. I think some folks use the field across the way from there, and then you get into Lee Adams
Into
and
Lee
up
Adams
into
land,
Black Cat Mountain, and I think that's ski-mobile up in there as well.
Yeah, that's
People
certainly
use those
Maine.
fields. Tenny Hill, somehow there's I don't know if it's on the Raymond Rattlers map or not.
Well, for sure, scoot south here for a second, Bill, if you can. I was out on the lake the other day, and this is all the Bartlett Brook.
Oh yeah, there is a
wetland
trail there,
that
yeah.
drains down from
Yeah.
Raymond Pond, and for sure, the main highway of the Rattlers, or the
Yeah.
main snowmobile trail,
Yeah, you're right.
comes
It goes right
out
through
at
there. Yep.
the beach at Crescent.
Yeah.
Comes from there, right down the middle of Crescent Lake, and goes into the brook. Actually, it goes into kind of Neshoba, I think it's Neshoba, to the right, to the south of the
It
brook.
follows Bartlett Brook.
And
You're right,
goes
the north side of
north
Bartlett.
side of the brook.
It crosses Raymond Hill Road by that nice white
That
farmhouse.
nice farmhouse, correct.
And then it goes onto Raymond Pond, heads up, it comes around Spring Valley.
Yeah.
And then it heads across the street up into Black Cat Mountain. That
So
area.
for the snow machines, that'll be something we'll have to
Yeah.
nail down, and whether
Yeah,
the extent to which we make a link there.
right.
And the beauty of having two places is we could say maybe here and not there, or maybe there
Right.
and not here.
Yeah, or every other year or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know. I know you want to be careful going on a snow machine up there, probably off of Pismere at night and not go
Yeah, right.
right off that cliff there.
Yeah, be a
because
long-
that's a bad ride.
Long drop, yeah.
So,
And I'm sure that'll be safety up there will be a issue we'll need to deal with
Yeah.
in terms of
yeah,
signage and
yeah,
probably some kind of
fence or
Fence.
something, yeah. That's, very true. I've never seen anybody rock climbing up there though, or rappelling.
It seems like it'd be a good place.
It would be.
So that's it in a nutshell. Action items, post the proposal, when we can, we'll get it out on the website. And, Steve, do you and Bill wanna explore the possibility of putting some ribbons on that trail? I probably ought to check with Kerry before we do that, but, and Kevin, and the Hancocks, but, why don't you guys, you know, in your time, and at least do a windshield drive by, and, this is the track.
Where did you park, John?
We parked here.
You could get in there?
Yeah,
with the
you,
cloud?
no, we parked on the side of the road,
Oh,
right
yeah.
there, and you might park on the side of the road here too, is probably the best thing to do. There's some sight lines that are kind of with a hill there, so a little bit to watch out for. But, we went in about halfway between Rosewood and Hancock,
Yep.
maybe a little closer to Hancock, kind of went straight up like that, and had to do a little bit of switchbacking.
But
But
you
if
say
you,
there's a pin.
there's a pin right there. If you went in from that pin, it would be pretty graceful, or more graceful. And you can
Yeah, go right
follow
along that contour line.
right
Yeah.
on that contour line. You know, there's a little valley that goes
Right.
up through there. It's kind of cool. And then used to be Nick Branch's house. I don't think it's him anymore. But you hook around that and you're home.
It looks like there's a steep part right by that corner, but once you
Yes,
get up
there
there,
is.
it's flat.
Yeah.
Flattens out pretty good.
And then, yeah, it does, and it's a much
Right
gentler
there.
grade from there.
Right.
Once you're there, you're
Yeah.
home, and
Yeah.
and there's significant woods right here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's all undeveloped woods. These patches are special plant mappings that are part of it. And they are, for those that are interested, are,
Come on. What's the matter?
keep going up a little bit there, here we go. Fern-leaved false foxglove, summer and summer grape. You know, those are on the natural areas programs, maps, and, you know, someone's taken the time to go out and GPS those dots on
Find 'em,
there.
Yeah.
So,
The grape is the little dot.
the grapes, what's the big one? That's
The
the,
fern, the
that's
false.
the false foxglove.
Yeah.
Well, at one time, I think there'd been approval for Hancock to have a number of houses that were below the cliff area. There was a,
You're absolutely right, and in fact, the lots, I believe, have been created
Yep.
in the town of Raymond's tax database. And there's 4 of them here, and, in terms of how the proposal to LMF is written right now, actually it mentions that there are 4 lots, but we're not proposing to do anything with those.
right.
I think that's, something we'll talk as the project goes along, talk with Kerry about in the town and folks, depending on which way it goes, and having 4 lots in an area that isn't critical to the scenic resource. You know, it might be that you'd hold 1 or 2 of those out, and they'd be a potential source of revenue. I wouldn't rule that out. We'd need to maintain our trail up behind them.
Yep.
If that was the case. That would take some close discussion with the folks from Land for Maine Futures if they in fact awarded this, because we certainly haven't proposed that those lots be a piece of the financing in terms of making them saleable.
Right.
But depending on how the thing goes and develops, you know, that could end up being a contingency plan. If
Something
the,
to
if the
offset.
LMF grant doesn't come through,
Yeah, no, you're right.
then,
Potentially.
this could be a supplement
To
to
offset the cost.
fill that
Sure.
gap.
Yep.
If
Okay.
it came to it, yeah.
Yep.
That's a good point, Jim.
With the, with the clock ticking, it would probably be prudent to look at any other potential funding sources, any other potential grant, sources for this project. We have all our eggs in one basket right now.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
if this comes back negative, if we
Negative.
don't get the grant,
what's
then
the-
we're done. Because we won't have time to go through another cycle with someone else if we're not, now that we have a template, it wouldn't take a lot of work to amend that
Oh, I see.
to meet the guidelines of some other grant source.
Yep.
And maybe what we need to do is spend some time to get this out to some other places.
No, it's a good point, Steve. And Carrie's chased.
Thank you.
Great, that's great, Tom. Carrie's chased a couple and others, the most viable others. And I think it's waiting to hear, and most of those, none of them come to the scale of the LMF grant of $200,000 is what this one's about. But it's going to be critical to have a plan B, because between yes or no on this, which pick a number, October, and December, we'll have 2 months to give Hancock a decision. That'll be crunch time, unless we have a plan B.
How much is in the LMF total fund?
I think this cycle they've got, it's several $1 million. It's not $10 million. I'm gonna say it's like 2.4 or something like that. And for sure there'll be some stiff competition, as there always is.
Yeah.
With some professionally prepared, like Carrie,
Right.
proposals. So, right now, the way it's going is that Loon Echo is the applicant, and we're in partnership with the Raymond Conservation Commission.
Yep.
The select board chose to not be the applicants, but they were supportive of the warrant request for funding, and so I think we've got a darn good application. We've got a darn good shot, and
Is the finance committee in favor of this? Did they weigh in?
the warrant, how's that gonna read? Good question. They haven't had this information separately. So I think the way the warrant's gonna read is that the Conservation Commission would recommend approval of the article.
Yep.
And, the select board hopefully will be saying the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
They certainly received it favorably over the times that we've met with them, and initially there was some hesitation and caution and questions, and that was 2 years ago, and through the course of the last year and a half plus, we've, I think, helped fill in some of the gaps. And, so that shows those lots in a little more detail. Hard to see it, but can you pinch that up with your fingers there, maybe?
No, this
So
is,
just do it on the trackpad itself and pinch with the web browser, so the pad on the bottom. Just right there.
On that PDF. Oh,
there you go.
good. Bring it in. All right, yeah. So, right there, those are certainly well below the place where the trail would go. Can you give me one more pinch there, Bill? I know I'm asking a lot. Nice. Whoa, we might have to pinch down. So what are those? It looks like how much feet going back? It's about 3, Stand by, Houston. Yep. Oh, no.
Too small.
Got you, cocky.
So, there was an oops there.
Is that an oops? It's a good thing I'm not a surgeon, right?
Is it all
Here comes the
gone?
surgeon. He's back. The doctor's in.
Okay.
There we go.
So the dotted lines, is that a right-of-way that goes through the center of the,
So that's Hancock Road right there on the lower piece. And, you know, I think those might be tree growth holdouts.
Is that good?
okay.
That's great. That's great, Tom.
Yeah,
That's
so
fine.
that is
That's fine.
Hancock
Yeah.
Road, and then, okay, gotcha.
And, so those are each 2 acres right there,
Mhm.
as they would be for that zoning. And it's, I think the green dash line might have been land that Hancock took out of tree growth to accommodate those lots, for one. And,
Yeah.
and with the Hancock Road piece, that's kind of bizarre. Maybe they had done the same there, thinking they could maybe have a couple houses on either side of the
Sure.
road.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that's the message from the RCC on the 25th of March. Any other inputs? We certainly are ready, willing to take on and bring in some folks to help push this thing along if it starts getting some momentum, to work with some of the neighbors to develop the forest management plan and the trail plan, and just to help get the word out. That would be great to have some more community input and support on the projects, just to make sure that we do have something that the town really wants to do. It's a great conservation deal, and that's what I think, and I think that's what most of us here think, I trust, and but we certainly want the town to think that too, and so we encourage folks to at least go drive by and take a walk around to the extent the ground conditions are favorable. And give a call or send us an email if you got any questions, certainly. What else? Anything else from? I guess that's it, and we'll plan on, what's the next meeting? It's gonna be the end of April. Anybody got a calendar that looks at the last
End of last
Tuesday in April?
The 29th?
29th, be a good date for a meeting.
That's the 5th Tuesday.
That's good, that's okay. A lot of Tuesdays. We'll have the 29th, and then we'll have one at the end of May. That's typically our last meeting. So there'll basically be 2 more meetings before town meeting.
Yep.
And before town meeting, I guess the goal would be to get this thing posted, get some flags out perhaps on the trail, and maybe a notice out about another informal hike for folks to see it. And help just get people educated before the vote.
I think I'm gonna try your trail going up that,
That diagonal.
this weekend, because I was looking for a place to try and get in 1 or 2 more snowshoes before it melts.
Before it
'Cause there's
goes.
still,
It's gonna be firm,
At
it's
least
gonna
a
be
2
rock
foot
hard.
base.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
plenty
yeah,
of snow up there,
so
yeah.
Plenty.
And it looks a little bit rainy this weekend, but I mean, there's some cold air still in.
Yeah.
So, recommend that, Bill. All right, good, well, that's it. With that, we'll check out and adjourn, and plan on meeting again at the end of April here.
Okay,
Thanks for coming, everybody.
thanks.